Hey guys, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. My name is Brooke. If you don't know me, I am 23 years old. I will be 24 in June. I had a baby a week ago today, and I do a lot of ASMR videos on this channel. I've also been vegan for over 3 years, so I do a lot of like recipe videos too. I really haven't narrowed down my brand because I like so many different things. So if you also like any of those things, you might like this channel. So stick around if you want to. But today I'm going to be talking about my birth story. And if you've been following my pregnancy thus far, you know that I was planning on having an unmedicated natural birth in a birth center. And a birth center is a place where it's just for giving birth, basically. There are midwives, you can bring your doula, but there are no doctors, there are no medications, it's all natural. You can only do it if you have a very uncomplicated pregnancy. And so if there's any kind of health issue at all or any worries by a doctor or anything like that, you can't give birth there just because it's not safe. But if you're having a completely uncomplicated pregnancy, have at it, if that's something you're into. And it's definitely something that I was into. And I actually didn't see a doctor the entire pregnancy. A doctor came to the birth center at 20 weeks to do my 20-week ultrasound, but that's it. So yeah, I haven't gone to the hospital in years and years. Like if I've ever been sick, I've just gone to the emergency room or whatever, but I haven't actually like seen a doctor in a really long time. So that's just kind of like what my plan was, and it didn't go that way, and I want to tell you about it. I want you to know that this is my personal story. This isn't meant to scare anyone. This isn't meant to I don't know, say that any certain way of doing things is wrong. This is just what happened to me, and I wanted to share it. And it might get emotional, so there's that. There's also going to be some footage. I'm not sure how much I'm going to be able to include because, spoiler alert, I was butt naked when I gave birth, so I don't know how much footage I'll be able to share, but I will be able to put in some. Yeah, let's just get into this video. So I had a very uncomplicated pregnancy. It was so easy. Everything went the way it was supposed to. I only gained 3.8 pounds throughout the entire pregnancy. I started my weight at 161.2, which is a little overweight for my height. And then I lost 17 pounds, slowly gained it all back throughout the pregnancy. And then I was 166 pounds even when I went to the hospital. So it was just a really easy pregnancy, and the baby was treating me very well. I didn't have morning sickness, everything was fine. At 39 weeks exactly, on the nose, I started having this weird discharge, or what I thought was discharge, and it was super watery. It was very watery. It didn't really have like a smell or anything. It was just kind of like water, and I knew that I wasn't peeing myself. I was very confident that I wasn't just peeing myself, and apparently that happens. Like when you're super late in your pregnancy, the baby's super low and it's like pushing down on your bladder and you can pee a little bit, and I wasn't doing that. So I was very confused, but I was like, you know what? Weird stuff has been happening down there. It's fine. Like it's no big deal. It's probably just some like weird discharge. So I didn't do anything about it for an entire day. Oh, I should also go back and add that I'm GBS positive, which means I have a certain bacteria in my vagina at the moment, and or anus. I think it can be in both, like your rectum and your vagina, but anyway, it's very normal. It can happen whether you're pregnant or not, and it comes and goes. Unfortunately, if you have it during the end of your pregnancy, you have to be on antibiotics while you're giving birth so that it doesn't pass to the baby. Because if it passes to the baby could be fine or it could not be fine. And so, yeah, just as a precaution, they told me that they want me to give birth within 24 hours after my water breaks, and they needed to have me on an IV lock so that they could give me fluids, antibiotics, whatever, while I was giving birth. And so I was having this weird discharge at 39 weeks. I just kind of waited it out. It wasn't like anything bad. It was not in a great amount or anything like that. It was just like there. The next day, I went for a walk with my dog. It was a wonderful walk. We had a great time. I came back and my underwear were just like, they weren't soaked, but there was a spot about this big on my thong that was wet. And I was like, what the heck? Like, it's noon and I'm already leaking through a pair of underwear. I have to change my underwear. Like, this doesn't make sense. So I called the on-call midwife and she was like, listen, I would send you to the birth center, but the tests that they would do there, if the tests were inconclusive or they weren't sure, they would just send you to the hospital anyway. So how about you just come to the hospital and we will test whatever fluid that is and see if it's amniotic fluid and see if your water has broken, and just to be safe. You know, it probably hasn't, but let's just be safe. And I was like, all right, fine, I'll be there in an hour. So I took a shower, I got ready, and we went to the hospital. I did bring my birth center bag that I had already had packed. I brought the diaper bag, and I was like, in case it is my water that has broken, I want to be prepared, like, to not be able to come home. So I brought all the things. Turns out that was a good thing that I did that because it was amniotic fluid. My water had broken 36 hours earlier and I didn't know, which can happen. Sometimes your water breaks in a really slow trickle, and other times your water gushes out of you, and other times your water doesn't break at all. And it's not like the movies where all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, my water broke, and it's like gushing everywhere. With mine, I had no idea, and it had been over 24 hours, and I hadn't experienced any contractions or anything like that. And so I was completely unaware that I was technically in labor. So they were like, all right, well, I have really bad news. Unfortunately, I know that this was not your plan, but you have to stay here because we can't let you go to the birth center since it's been over 24 hours and you're GBS positive. You have to stay here and give birth. And they were so, so kind and gentle about that. And very caring and compassionate, and letting me know that they really empathized, they felt for me, because for 39 weeks I had been planning on a certain thing and all of a sudden it wasn't possible. And I was fine. I really was. I was okay with that because there wasn't anything I could do about it. If it was one of those things where they were like, we really wish that you would stay here, like we highly recommend it, but you can go, then I probably would have been more upset and like more conflicted. But in this instance, I couldn't leave. So I was like, what's the point in being upset about it if there's literally nothing I can do and I have to stay here? So I embraced it. I sucked it up. I said, well, we've got our bags and we are having a baby sometime in the next couple days. So, yeah, then they transferred me over to my room that I would give birth in. And they said, okay, so here's the deal. You are not contracting at all. Your cervix is not ripe at all. Well, okay, no, here's the thing. I was having contractions. They were showing up on the monitor, but I didn't feel them. So they were like nothing, you know? And yeah, they weren't anything big. And so they were like, we need to start ripening your cervix and prepare you for labor because for some reason your body is just not doing it fast enough and we need it to go a little bit faster, okay? And I was like, okay. My midwife was there. And so were some nurses. My midwife was being so wonderful. And she said, here's what I would recommend. We need to do something called Cervidil. Now, Cervidil is like a ribbon. It's like a thin, long white ribbon. And basically what they do is they insert it into your vagina and they kind of wrap it around your cervix, from what I understand. And this is supposed to ripen that cervix and get it ready for labor. It's not supposed to induce labor. It's not supposed to start contractions. She told me in rare cases, it may start contractions and it may start your labor, but it's very rare, like 20%, right? Okay, that's not very rare, but it's rare. And it was just to get my cervix ready. She said that the plan was they were going to insert the Cervidil. I was going to relax, get some sleep, and wake up in the morning, and hopefully my cervix would be ready and I would have a baby that day, or maybe even the next day. They didn't know. They didn't know how long it would take. So I was one of the rare cases that she told me about where it did induce my labor. And not only did it induce my labor, it made it so I was having contractions every 30 seconds to 45 seconds. And if you've never had a contraction, honey, it was awful. But it didn't start, it wasn't awful. I'm sorry, you guys. It wasn't awful right away. It was more just like annoying and kind of crappy, a little painful. And I was playing a board game with my boyfriend, and all of a sudden I heard and I felt like a knock in my belly, like down low. And instantaneously, when I heard and felt that, it was like contraction city. And that's when it became extremely, extremely painful, and I wasn't getting a break. It was every 30 seconds, horrible contraction. And basically the Cervidil had just made me go from 0 to 9,000 really, really fast. And it didn't give my body any warning. It didn't give me any time to like catch up to it. It was just like contraction, 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 contraction. And normally contractions are like a minute or like 2 or 3 minutes apart, maybe more. So you have some time to take a breath, to relax. I wasn't getting any time. I wasn't getting any breathers. And it was awful. And so they ended up having to take the Cervidil out because they were like, clearly this is too much. And it did the thing that we didn't want it to do. And so now we have to take it out, and we will see what happens. The contractions didn't stop when they took it out. They slowed down. They were at about a minute and a half in between, which was more than what I was getting before, so that was nice. But it was still extremely painful. They said that what they hypothesized that knock was a second sac that I had popping. So that was like my amniotic sac popping, basically. It was a secondary sac, and it was popped, and it was time to go. It was time to give birth. So I was having contractions for about 8 hours. 8 hours at 30 seconds to a minute and a half apart, depending on, what time frame in that 8 hours. And it was so bad, you guys, like, it was really not good. I was allowed to get in the shower, get in the bath, which I did, and it was like, it didn't help. It was not good, y'all. So they had nitrous oxide, is that what it's called? The laughing gas. And they have that available at the birth center too. And that was the one thing where I was like, okay, I'm willing to have this laughing gas, and we will see if this helps me. And so I got out of the bath and I tried the laughing gas, and it did nothing. It didn't make me feel loopy. It didn't make me not care about the contractions. It didn't make me feel any better. So I stopped doing that after like a couple minutes because I was like, you guys, this is not doing anything for me. It's just getting in my way because I had to like breathe into the mask and I was like, this thing sucks. So I stopped using that, and I was in so much pain and I was peeing myself constantly. The contractions were just so powerful that I was peeing myself with every few contractions, just all over. And CJ said that he didn't even like notice that I peed, and so I don't know how the midwife and the nurse were cleaning this up, because it was just like whoosh, like gushing out of me. I was just peeing and peeing and peeing, and so I eventually was like, I need something, you guys. I'm desperate. I need something. And they said that they would give me, it started with a Z. I don't remember what it was, but they were like, we can give you this, and it is a pain medication. It'll make you kind of drowsy, but it will help your pain. And they were like, but the only thing is you can only have a maximum of, I think, 3 or 4 doses, and it only lasts you for 45 minutes. And then it's out of your system completely and you're, screwed. So she was like, I would not recommend taking this right now because we don't know how long your labor is going to last. So if you're starting to take this pain medication now, and then your labor is another day, it lasts a whole other day, you're going to be screwed, basically. Like, you're going to be in trouble because you can only have a certain amount and it only lasts for a very short amount of time. And I was like, I'm sorry, I need it now. I really need it. And so I had that. It did not help at all. It didn't help with the pain, but I was kind of going in and out of consciousness. And I don't know if that was just because I was tired, because I was exhausted, because I was in pain. But it did make me kind of sleepy if it did cause that. And so I was like having a horrible contraction, and then I would kind of like go like that. And then I would like wake up, have a contraction, and then like go back to sleep. And so yeah, they did that, and they only gave me 1 dose of that because I went from 5 centimeters dilated to 9.5 centimeters dilated in a matter of like an hour or something like that. It was ridiculous. And so they wouldn't give me any more pain medication because they didn't want me to be tired. They wanted me to be like with it and there so I could push the baby out, which also meant that an epidural was like completely off the table. They were like it wasn't an option because I was too far along. I was too far progressed into labor for that to be an option. And I ended up giving birth with no pain medication, no epidural. And I will tell you guys that in the moment, I would have done anything to get some pain medication, an epidural, an emergency C-section. I did not care. I was in so much pain, like indescribable pain, that I'll insert a clip of me saying I need more help. And that's pretty much what I said the entire time. I was like, no, you guys don't understand. I can't do this. I can't do it. I need more help. And I was just convinced that it like wasn't, sorry. I was convinced that I could not do it because it was so bad. It was so bad. And I'm starting to like sweat from crying. But anyway, again, not trying to scare you if you're like pregnant or whatever. And if you have had a baby before and stuff, that's great. And like if you weren't in any pain or whatever, or like you thought it was totally fine, lucky you, I did not feel that way. So the reason why I didn't feel that way is because although I went from 5 centimeters to 9.5 centimeters super quickly, the baby was not ready to come out. At 9.5 centimeters, they had me start pushing. And I ended up pushing, like active pushing for a little over 3 hours. So, yeah, normally they save that, like the pushing, until the very end, where they're like, okay, the baby is like engaged, ready to come out, it's time. And for some reason, the baby was not ready to come out. And I also couldn't figure out how to push correctly, because I've never had a baby before. Damn, like, what am I supposed to do? So, yeah, like, I knew I had to push. I got the urge to push. I had to push, but I couldn't do it right. And I think it's because I had to poop really bad, but I couldn't get the poop out. Again, like, if this is TMI for you, why are you watching a birth story video? I had to poop really bad, but like, I could not make the poop come out. I could feel it there, and I knew that it was like just right there ready to come out, but I couldn't get it. So like, I was pushing, but I think I was like more pushing like on the poop, if that makes sense, versus like on the baby, or like trying to get the baby down. Instead, I was like trying to get the poop out. I don't know how some people are like embarrassed that they poop or pee while they're giving birth. I did not care at all. I was just like, I was in another world. I was not even present. And especially, yeah, with nothing to numb my pain at all, it was just, I was not there. And I remember at one point specifically, somebody said something about it being almost 7 in the morning. And I remember like hearing that, it like in my, I was gonna say my peripherals, but I remember hearing that, like somebody in the corner whispered, "It's almost 7." And I was shocked, because this had been going on since like 8 p.m. And so I was like, how is it already that early? Because while time was dragging on, because I was just in this excruciating pain, it also wasn't like, I was so in and out of like consciousness and in and out of being alive that for all I knew, it had lasted an hour. Like, I didn't know. So when they said that it was almost 7 and I looked over at the window and I saw some light peeking in from the sun, I was like, oh my God, this has been going on for that long and I haven't made any progress. It was awful. So the midwife kept sticking her fingers really deeply inside me, and she would say, push my fingers out, Brooke. And I was like, I'm trying to push your fingers out, because like that's where she was trying to direct the pushing, because I just wasn't pushing right. And so she was like, push my fingers out. And I felt like I wasn't getting anywhere. I wasn't doing anything. So they had me get up to go to the bathroom, and because they were also pumping me with fluids at this time, because I was super dehydrated. And also at this time, the baby was starting to lose oxygen, and so was I, because it was like so much stress, so much pressure. And yeah, just like really, really shitty. So I was also like on this oxygen mask, and then they were pumping fluids into me. So they were like, you need to pee to get some of this out, and that'll help. And so I sat on the toilet, kid you not, for like 20 minutes, just having contractions and pushing, and no pee would come out. I was like, you guys, I can't pee. I peed it all out on the table. Like, it's not going well. And I was switching up positions just like I would have at the birth center. I was on my hands and knees at one point. I was squatting at one point. I was on my side trying not to die at one point, and I just could not pee. But I think that getting in the position to pee and pushing as much as I did while I was like on the toilet trying to go, it changed something. My doula was like, you changed. You just got this determination after that. And the reason why, you guys, was because I could feel her head in in there. I could feel it now, that it was in the right place, that it was starting to come out. And once I felt that, that's when I was like, oh my God, I'm making progress. Finally, after 8 hours of contractions, and at this point it was like 2.5 hours of pushing, I could feel her head. Or no, it was like 2 hours of pushing. I could feel her head. And so I got this determination that really pushed me to finish the job. And I wasn't yelling at this point anymore, because before, when the contractions were just going and going and going, I couldn't help it. I was like grunting and yelling, and it was like like kind of like that. And at this point I was silent, and they put this squat bar up on the end of the bed, and they would have me like lay down, get oxygen, and then when I was ready, when I could feel a contraction coming, feel the urge to push, I would get up, hold on to the squat bar, squat down like this, and just frickin' push with everything I had. And I just kept doing it, and I kept feeling her get lower and lower, and I was like, oh my God, I'm doing it. And then unfortunately that position is very tiring, and so they were like, we need you to switch positions or you're gonna get too tired. And I was like, no, because it was working and I could feel it working, so I didn't want to stop. And then they were like, okay, you've got to stop, but we can still use the bar. Here's what we're gonna do. They tied a sheet to the bar, like in the middle. You'll be able to see in the video, and they had me hold on to the sheet like this, and like I was still laying down, but they had me like curl my body up like this, pull down on the sheet, and like push the baby out that way. And so I would like do that a couple times, get up and do the like upward squat down thing, go back and forth, and that is eventually how I had Rose. And I had her with the sheets in my hands, like pushing like that. And yeah, like they had me like reach down and feel her head, and the poor top of her head, like right here, was out of my vagina for quite a while before her body followed. So it was super bruised and kind of coney, because I could not keep pushing. And at the end, what happens at the end of when you give birth is called the ring of fire. And it's just this horrible burning. And so at the end, I was having a really hard time because I could feel her right there, and I was so tired. I hadn't slept in over a day, and I had been pushing for 3 hours. 3 hours, and I had no pain medication in me or anything, no epidural, so I was just like, I was so exhausted. And then this ring of fire shit happens, and I was in so much pain from that. I was like, you guys, it's burning. And they were like, it's supposed to, it's okay, you're doing it, you're doing this. And I was having a hard time pushing because of this other pain. I was like used to the pushing pain, but not the burning that was happening. But I did it, and long story short, she came out, and yep, she was born at 9:42 in the morning on the 19th of February, which was a week ago today. And right when she came out, me and CJ, my boyfriend, were both just like, oh my God, she looks just like me. She looks like me. Which is really cool. And yeah, she's like my little twin, and I love her so much more every single day, you guys. And yeah, she was 7.2 pounds, or 7 pounds 2 ounces, and she was 20.5 inches long. So that was that, and it was a hell of a time giving birth and getting her out. And the entire time I just kept saying, like, I felt frustrated because nobody was listening to me. I was like, I can't do it, you guys, I can't. And then she came out and I was like, oh my God, I did it. I can. Like, not only did I think that I was gonna die, I didn't die, but I also did the thing that I thought I could never do. And I don't know why I thought that giving birth would be easier than it was. But it was not. And it was the hardest, worst thing I have ever done in my entire life. And I would never, ever wish it on even like my worst enemy, somebody I just hated. I would never wish that pain on them because it was really crappy. It was really crappy. And toward the end, I was just so tired that I couldn't even yell anymore. I couldn't cry. I wanted to cry, but I couldn't cry because it was too much energy. It was just too much. And yeah, something else that happens when you are in labor is you get really cold and shaky, or at least for me it did. And so I was freezing. And so throughout the entire time, pretty much the only things I said were, I can't do this, I need more help, and I need a warm blanket. And they kept giving me all these blankets. I had like 5 blankets piled on top of me that were all heated blankets, and I was just like shaking so violently because I was so cold. And like, I hate talking about it because it's like really, it was really traumatic, and I've only ever heard one person say that birth was so bad. I mean, women always talk about how bad it is, but like nobody's ever said how traumatizing it can be that I've heard. And I keep like asking my friends that have had children, like, when does this go away? Because at this point, I'm still so traumatized by it and like can't imagine having to do it again. I want more kids, but like, how could I ever do that again? My friend asked me if next time I would just plan to have an epidural like right away. And the truth is, I wouldn't. I would do it the same way because I was already having a hard enough time figuring out where to push and how to push that I feel like if everything was numb, I wouldn't be able to figure that out as quickly, and I feel like it would make labor last even longer. And also because once she was born, once she was out, it was over, almost. Okay, after she was born, I was having some bleeding and some clotting, and my midwife was just like, Brooke, this was after I had delivered the placenta and everything. She was like, Brooke, there's one more thing. I have to reach my entire hand into your vagina. And I was like, you're what? And she was like, I have to reach my entire hand into your vagina to get out the clots and stop this bleeding. And I was like, oh my God. Okay. Actually, what I actually said was, but I'm not that kind of girl. And she was like, I try not to be that kind of midwife, but unfortunately, sometimes I have to be. So she reached her, entire hand into my vagina, did some stuff in there, and then that was it. Oh, the lighting just got crazy. Here, let me go get this baby. I want to show you the baby. Oh, but before I do that, I'll show you a body update. Of course, I've got, hello. Oh, I'm getting like a cramp. Let me pull these down. This is my stomach, and this is from the side. It's very soft down here. There I am, 7 days postpartum. So, yeah. Now let's go get this baby. Hey, sweet girl. Here's the sweet baby. She's just kind of waking up, so she's pretty tired. Here, let me show you. There's the baby. Oh. Yes, she's very tired. Let's get a thumbnail. Look at her sweet face. She looks just like me. All right, so now I'll pull you in here. So after, here, let's set it right here. So after giving birth, I had to obviously stay at the hospital for a day. They actually let me go about 24 hours later because at that point, to be honest, we just really wanted to come home. We were sick of being bothered every like 30 seconds by people checking on me, checking on Rose, and yeah, we were just so ready to go home. So we went home, and here we are now. She's just the sweetest little baby. Here, let me show you her sweet face. There's your sweet face. Hi, baby. Yeah, it's bright. It's bright over here. Look at that little nose. That little nose. So cute. Yes, just like me. She's got my nose. That's why it's so cute. Yeah, so that is my birth story. I don't think I forgot anything. I tried to be super thorough, even though it got graphic and gross. I got a hemorrhoid for the first time. That's been fun from pushing so hard. For so long. So I'm still being affected by the hemorrhoid, but other than that, like, the pain is gone. Like, the second I gave birth, it was gone. I had a hard time like getting up out of bed for the first day or so. It was hard for me to like use those muscles to like get out of bed and like start walking. That was tough, but otherwise I felt fine. I felt totally good, and I feel like if I had gotten an epidural or something like that, then it would have been a lot worse recovering. But instead, it was like, oh, that was over and it's done, and I don't have to do that again for a long time, which makes me really happy because I don't know when the day will come that I will be like okay with giving birth again. It was so scary and traumatic, but you hear my baby farting right there? That's nice. Thanks, baby. Yeah, she's been doing all sorts of fun mustardy looking poops because she is breastfeeding. Well, not breastfeeding. We had some issues with that, which I'll explain later, but she is drinking my breast milk just from bottles. So yeah, she's a sweet baby, and she is perfect and healthy, and everything is good, and me and her dad are so happy. We love her so much, and more every day. Get this on camera. She got a little smile. Little smile. Oh, never mind. That's not a smile anymore. That's not a smile. She's pooping. Oh no, it's a painful poop. It is. She's just the cutest baby. I feel very lucky. I see that I've been filming for 40 minutes at this point. And so I don't know if I will include the clips but I will try. I just don't know exactly how it's gonna happen. Yeah. It was awful, you guys. I'm not gonna lie. It was absolutely awful, and 10 out of 10 don't recommend. However, afterwards, I am now 147 pounds. So I weigh, how many pounds is that? 57. I weigh almost 15 pounds less, right? Yeah, than I did when I got pregnant. So, thanks, baby. After the first day, I was down about 9.5 pounds. After 2 days postpartum, I was down 9.5 pounds. And I was like, what the heck? She was like 7 pounds of that. Why haven't I lost more weight? Like, because I thought that you lose the placenta and the fluids and it's all more, but it has been coming off after. So now 1 week postpartum, I am 147 pounds, and that's really cool. So thanks, baby. You're a good baby. And oh, so many big stretches. Oh my goodness. Here, let's let them see you. Oh, you're so pretty. You're so pretty. Yes. Oh my goodness. Oh, it's a hard life being a little baby. Yep. But that's that. I am so happy to be a mom. It's something I've always wanted my entire life. And yeah, I guess I will talk to you more about like different issues that we've had breastfeeding, and different things about just my mental state after giving birth. And I will talk to you about those in another video. So keep an eye out for that. And I will talk to you guys in my next video. Thank you for watching. Bye.